So good afternoon to all of you. And my pleasure to join one more time this week, beginning again with our series of lectures about Sri Gopi Gita. So today we are in our 18th meeting, and we will be studying verse number 16 of the Gopi Gita. So first of all, let's make some brief summary of what we were seeing last Thursday, our previous talk. We were studying verse number 15 when the gopis describe a particular moment and time in the life of the Absolute and in their lives. They say to Krishna, when you go off to the forest during the day, a tiny fraction of a second becomes like a millennium for us because we cannot see you. And even when we can eagerly look upon your beautiful face, so lovely with its adornment of curly locks, our pleasure is hindered by our eyelids, which were fashioned by the foolish creator. Hatatiyat bhavam jnanikananam Truti yugayate tam apashyatam kutilakuntalam shri mukam chati yadav dikshatam pakshamam kritdrisham. So the gopis here are replying to Krishna in case, according to the charts, in case Krishna may say to the gopis that if can I delay myself a little bit in connection to the two previous verses, to this one, verse number 13 and 14, where the gopis are expressing their desire for him to appear in different ways, repeating similarly some other previous verses. So Krishna may say to them, may I delay a little bit? So the gopis are answering him, how do they experience subjectively? Not even Krishna's delay, but just one fraction and a fraction of a second as yugas. So what to speak about the delay that already is there for the gopis? So the gopis here are expressing how much do they suffer in separation. First of all, first half of the verse, the gopis are saying, when you go to the forest, we experience great separation when you are going. Now, when you are going back, we also experiencing not only separation, but distress, because we are seeing you at the same time. We are not able to fully see you. You remain on our side just for a moment, and eventually you are taken by Yashoda, and so many obstacles are in the way of our sight. Our family members, which will be there, and we cannot look at you freely in their face. the dust raised by the cows, sometimes it acts like a curtain. We cannot fully appreciate the beauty of your face with its curly locks. The torrents of tears that come to our eyes when you gave us your darshan, it's impeding us to see you fully, to drink the nectar of your beauty and our satisfaction. And in this verse, I mainly refer to the eyelids, which were fashioned by the foolish creator, and interrupt the act of receiving your beauty. So somehow or other, the gopis here are insulting Brahma, the architect of the human form. Of course, the gopis are not only human, as we mentioned also, they are not only divine, as overtly that may be seen in places like Vaikuntha, or even in Swargaloka, some form of being divine, Deva, is there. But the gopis are a very unique blending of the topmost transcendence in human-like packaging, if you will. So they have particular eyes that blink, but it's a blinking that they are aware of, which generally we are not aware of our blinking. That means they're really, they are perceiving their blinking. So it means whatever they're looking is too beautiful, and the way they are looking at that is too beautiful. So the combination of the two, Krishna's beauty and the gopis' love, make for the perception of the blinking. We will only perceive your blinking, and you will curse your eyelids and its creator when you have that type of love and are contemplating with that type of love, that type of object of love. Vishaya, alambana, ashraya, alambana. When these two components these two bhivas, these two ingredients of rasa are in its place. And Krishna and Krishna, the devotion for Krishna, the connection will be expressed in terms like this, or so many others. So the subjective experience of the gopis is unique, according to their particular realization, which is reaching the heights of Mahabhav, the ultimate development of Prem. Of course, all the Brajavasis are experiencing separation when Krishna is leaving, and experiencing some further thirst to have more of Krishna when he's returning. But also Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur made the comparison that the way the gopis are experiencing all that is all the way too extreme. We gave the example. They say truti means one, how do you say, like 1700th of a second. So they experience that measure of time as a yuga, and yuga implies billions of years. So we can even imagine the intensity of that condensed mini moment, millisecond. But that's how they subjectively go through that truti, that small measure of time in the ecstasy of Mahabhav. So on one side, they are mentioning, we experience that in separation when you are not with us, when you are living with your friends and cows in the morning. And when you appear, it may seem that we will be fully satisfied after seeing you, but that's not happening. And main reason that's why that's not happening, they speak about the eyelids. Of course, there are so many other elements, as we mentioned, but the eyelids are receiving the main attention. So in this way, they are criticizing Brahma. Nothing is happening to them. They can criticize, insult the creator, and they won't receive any reaction for that. So you have to be on the level of the gopis to be able to do such a thing. Or the Brajavasis in themselves, which sometimes are joking about the devas, these guys with many heads and many eyes in the body and so on. And that will increase their bhakti samskars, Braja bhakti samskars. They won't create any negative reaction. So that's the whole idea of the verse, and also some interesting alternative meaning that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives to the expression Pakshmakrit, which has to do with the maker of the eyelids. It's also cutting off the eyelids. So the gopis may imply in an extreme moment of ecstasy, those people who are really intelligent, because they insulted Brahma calling him Jada, non-intelligent, but the Sanskrit lends itself to be interpreted as the opposite. So those who are ajada, intelligent, will actually cut off their eyelids so they can, without interruption, bring that beauty. But we are non-intelligent village girls. We cannot do that. So we are experiencing this suffering, and actually that's our fate. So the whole responsibility and the weight of such a baggage, the gopis are accepting that on their shoulders, if you will. So all this, of course, in an interpretive level, has to do mainly with the eyes to see Krishna, which are the eyes with which we can see Krishna, and how to develop this prema netra, the eye of love, and so on. So the conclusion, of course, of this verse, as well as with most of the other ones, is appear before us, show yourself before us fully, not even like in these moments, like we get interrupted by the eyelids and so many other obstacles. Still, the eyelids are there, but appear before us, no, in a permanent way. So that's some words about our last class, verse number 15. So now I will go to verse number 16, which is today's shloka, and I will be sharing it here in the chat section for you to have it. There it is. So let's recite it, and the ones who would like to join, invited to the soul. So the gopis here say like this. Padisutam vaya bratri bandhavam ati vilanghate tyachutagata gati vidashtavo gita mohita gita vayoshita kastya jimnishi. So the translation of the verse, the gopis are saying, O infallible one, Achyuta, you know why we have come here, for nothing is unknown to you. We are enchanted by the song of your flute and have abandoned our husbands, children, ancestors, brothers, and our entire family. O cheater, who but you will abandon young women like us who have come to see you in the middle of the night? Very beautiful verse. Here the gopis are calling him simultaneously, calling Krishna infallible and cheater. So that's a unique mood of them. So let's go to the word by word meaning of the verse, and then we will try to unfold the content of these words. So the gopis are saying Pati Sutanbaya Bhratri Bandhavam. In the first line, they are mentioning all of the things in a condensed way, all the things that they have rejected to be there with Krishna, one after the other. Pati means husbands. Pati Sutta means children. Pati Sutta Ambaya, generally speaking, means ancestors. So even as those who are not there, who were there in the past, all concerned for family lineage and all those things, basically. Pati Sutambaya Bhratri. Bhratri means brothers. Bandhavam. Bandhavam may refer to other relatives. Like whatever other relative was not mentioned in the first words is included in Bandhavam, to imply all these ties, family ties, worldly family ties were totally rejected at once when the flute sounded. So first line, the gopis are describing this, all the things that they have rejected. And then they say, Ati vilangyatem chatyachyuta gata. Ati vilangya, there it means completely rejecting. Ati implies total, completely, because you can reject something. But one thing is to be free from something, other thing is to be totally free from something, another thing is to be absolutely, completely, and totally free. Like when the scripture says, Sarvopadi vinir muktam, for example. Here they are not using the word ati, but similar idea. You should be free from all material designations. Sarva upadi. Upadi means designation, sarva means all. And binir muktam. Muktam means to be free from mundane designations. But here it doesn't say muktam, it says binir muktam. So nir muktam means to be specially free from all material designation, abundantly free. And binir muktam means totally, absolutely, completely into the topmost level degree free from all mundane designation. So similar here, the gopis, when they say ati bilangya, the ati means completely neglecting all these types of designations, basically. Identification with temporary links on this plane. Children, ancestor, husband, brother, all those things are moving, are not permanent. So the gopis immediately transcended that. So ati vilangya te antyachyutagata. Te anti. Te anti means te, your, anti, your press into the presence. So in your presence, going in your presence for being there, O Achyuta, infallible one, for being into the presence of you, Achyuta, we have completely neglected all this list of things which are very difficult to give up for most of the people. We were able to do that immediately. And one of the main reasons comes in the third line. Tyachyuta gata. Then they say, Gati vidastavo gita mohita. Gati has to do with movements, with our movements. There will be many meanings, as we'll see, but official one. We imply the movement, what moved the gopis to be there. Vida means who understand the purpose. So, which was the purpose behind the gopis' movements, which led them to neglect everything and be there into the presence of Achyut? Tabot Gita, they say, Mohita. So Tabot Gita Mohita. Tava means your, Udgita means loud song. Gita is song, and Udgita means loud song, which implies the flute song. Maybe it was not loud regarding volume, maybe it was, but the point is, it was loud in terms of content and the intensity of Krishna's calling the gopis. So Tabot Gita Mohita. Mohita means bewildered. So we heard your loud calling with your flute, and immediately we became bewildered. And Ativilangyate, we immediately neglected all the things that we mentioned to you that may be possible to give up during lifetime for other people. We just heard that flute. That was all. And the last line, where the gopis indirectly, as we will see, present their request, they say, Kitava yoshita kastyajanisi. So Kitava has to do with Kaitava. Kaitava means cheating. So Kitava means cheater. After calling Krishna Achyuta, infallible, now they call him cheater. So eventually we'll see how these two words very charmingly connect to each other. So Kitava means cheater. Oh, cheater. Yoshita means woman. Yoshita. Ka means who. Tyajet come from tyaja, which means abandon. And nishi means in the night. Nisha. So the point is Kitava Yoshita Kastya Jan Nishi means, oh cheater, who will abandon young woman like us in the night. Only a cheater. That's the point. Only a cheater like you will make what you are doing. Abandon us now in the middle of the night, in the forest, and so on. Indirectly, they are asking Krishna appear before us, as we will see, through parokshava, indirect romantic expression. So let's go, after the word by word, let's go a little bit with the unpacking of this verse content, as much as Srimad Bhagavatam and Parampara allows us to do it. So Guru Maharaj, in his aesthetic Vedanta, as I like to begin with, invoking his blessings, he's mentioning that the gopis, again, are addressing Krishna with these two interesting, in these two interesting forms. Achyuta, Kitava, infallible, cheater. Generally, one seems like to be like the opposite of the other one. So Guru Maharaj, he mentions here that. He said the gopis tell Krishna that although he's infallible, he's also a cheater. Because for having invited them, he refuses to shelter them now. And now more than ever, he's mentioning, the gopis require Krishna's shelter. For they have abandoned everything, as they mention in this verse, including religious principles, to come to him in the night. Tarvadammam parityaja. All religion was left behind. All sense of what's correct, what's socially becoming, whatever. So how can the infallible, Guru Maharaj say, how can one who is infallible, reliable in all circumstances, because that's the meaning of achyuta, the one who never fails, how can that person can be a cheater, someone unreliable at the same time? You follow? Achyuta means reliable in all circumstances. Cheater means unreliable. So how can these two opposites coexist with one another? So Guru Maharaj says, such is Krishna, in whom all contradictions are resolved. So for one who has Krishna, you will have that person in which all contradictions are living in harmony together. So you cannot speak about contradiction any longer. But those who understand that are those who live with him, and there are those who have the type of love which gives us the capacity of such an harmonizing tendency. When the nature of love is described by Rupa Goswami, Ahari Bhagati Premna Shabhava Kutilava Vet, like love moving like in a crooked way like a snake. There are many interpretations to this, no? Unpredictable movement, something you cannot control, you have to open to that agenda and so on. But Srila Sri Maharaj also will say that the nature of love is such that it's moving in a zigzag way, because if it's moving just in a straight line, so many things on both sides of the path are not being embraced by that love, are not being properly harmonized. So the movement, the crooked movement, is like a movement when in zigzag, like a snake. The love, it's accepting everything that is on its way, embracing everything and harmonizing everything. So that's the topmost expression of reality, Srila Simraj will say. Truth, beauty, and harmony. It's another way of saying love, another way of saying Krishna, reality, the beautiful, in his words. So who are the gopis speaking here? Some of our acharyas have made some specific mention in this connection. They say that the gopis whose relatives had prevented them from leaving the house when Krishna first called them, remember, beginnings of Rasa Lila, Krishna played the flute. He would say not all the gopis were able to reach the place. Some of them were prevented at home. So those gopis are singing this verse now. So the point is, now they're free from that. Remember, some of them, it is say, were in the house of their husbands, were prevented from living by their husbands and their husbands' relatives. Others were in their father's homes, and they were stopped by their own relatives. So those gopis, it is say, they were kept in their rooms, but as we explained, the fire of separation at that moment in their hearts burned up any remaining obstacle that was not allowing them to join, to meet with Krishna. So eventually, it is say, they entered Krishna, entered their hearts. And Krishna, and the gopis there embraced Krishna very tightly and went with him to the Rasa Lila in proper, pure, totally pure identities. So that's how it's generally explained. Also, this verse is connected to a possible reply from Krishna, according to Srinath Pandit, one famous commentator. Krishna may say, okay, in the previous verse, Krishna was saying, can I delay a little bit? So the gopis say what they say in the previous verse. And Krishna may say now, if you cannot tolerate the delay, then go back home. According to Srinath Pandit, Krishna may present that to churn the hearts of the gopis, to distill the vow. So suspecting this possible reply by Krishna, the gopis are contemplating, anticipating so many possibilities at the same time in a spontaneous way. So the gopis, again, who had relinquished their material bodies and now had transcendental bodies, were the ones who spoke this verse. So that's especially applicable, what they say in the verse. What did they say in the verse? We came to you by completely rejecting in unique ways our husbands, brothers, family members, and so on. So they are the ones who were checked from doing that, and now they are finally able to join. So that's why the gopis left their material body, and whoever has a connection with that. The false ego and extended false ego in the form of I am mine, my house, my family, my son, my wife, my husband, my ancestor, all that is an extension of the Aham Mameti spirit. So the gopis were able to release that. The ones who joined in the first time immediately already were free from that, and the ones who were not free from that, in the fire of separation, they were able to do that eventually. So that's the nature of the gopis in connection to how much they embrace Krishna's call to the point of rejecting, and that's the speciality of Parakiya Bhav, because Parakiya Bhav means illegal relationship, which is a transgression of moral principles according to society. The other types of relationships are called, as you know, Sambandha Rupa Bhakti, which means relational bhakti, which takes the form of a allowed relationship as a friend, mother, father, servant. But Kama Rupa Bhakti means relationship out of desire, which is not correct in society. So, but that's the special glory of the gopis, how they're able, and those so-called obstacles in the form of house and family members are only then to intensify that particular fire of devotion. That's one of the main prayers of Uddhav when he left Vrindavan. Asammaho charanarena jasammahamsim Vrindavane kimapi gulmalato shadimnan jadustajam sajanam aryapatam chahita bhijurmukunda padavinshati bimrigim. So basically, this is a famous verse where he's praying to be born as a little grass there in Vrindavan, as a speck of something, So he between the vines or whatever, so he may receive the dust from the lotus feet of the gopis. But he's saying, Jadustyajam sajanam aryapatam chahitva. The gopis rejected all the things which are very difficult to reject for most of the people. Dustyajam. So that's their particular glory. In order to, of course, worship Krishna in a unique way, in a way that even the Vedas are looking after. So let's analyze a little bit the different elements that the gopis rejected, what the meanings of the words are, and so on. So the verse say, Bratri Bandhavam, for example. Bratri Bandhavam. Bratri means brothers, generally speaking. And Bandhavan, more specifically, now going beyond the word by word meaning, Bandhavan refers here to one's own father, one's own mother, one's own brothers and sisters, and other relatives. It is said that they are all bandhu. Bandhu means like friends. Friends in this case means from my own lineage, from my own blood, from my own family. While the word anbaya, patisutambaya, ambaya refers to the relatives of one's husbands, in the case of the gopis, the husband's relatives, the gopis' in-laws, and so on. So those are referred in this verse with the word ambaya. And the point is they rejected them all. The ones coming from their family, the ones coming from the other family. These days I'm seeing some series of the Ramayana, and it's nice because there's so much Maryad there, so much respect for tradition and the family and the ancestors and the wife and the sons and the bride. It's incredible, very nice, but at the same time it's indirectly extolling the glories of the gopis' love, because the gopis do not think for a second about rejecting all of that in a minute. But at the same time, we know when Krishna and those inhabitants of Braj appear in the context of Maryad, of exhibiting proper decorum according to society, they can do it perfectly. So the point is, the so-called transgression that they are showing here is not transgression at all. It's a transgression, if you will. So Sanatana Goswami, in his Brihad Vaishnava Tocha, in his commentary, he mentioned that the reason why the gopis came, basically, he says, is achyuta. He invokes the word achyuta to refer to why the gopis came. So what means achyuta again? Infallible. And what does it mean, infallible, in this context? Sanatana Goswami says, Krishna cannot possibly fall from the glory of appreciating those who surrender to him. This is quite well known along the scriptures. Krishna reciprocates accordingly, and even more. So he's achyuta, he cannot fail in reciprocation. Yatamam prabhadante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. So from the glories of those especially who surrender to the gopis already mentioned many verses about pranata kamadam, pranata dehinam, those who surrender to you, what will happen to them, so much blessing. And Sanatana Goswami also says he's gatibit. The word gatibit will have many meanings. So he will say he's gatibit in the sense that he knows his own nature. Gati in this case means like swabhav, means nature, gati. So he knows, because in the general meaning we have translated gati as movements. And what did take the gopis there? Well, it's interesting, but the Sanskrit word like that. Movement has to do with nature. Your nature will move you in a particular direction. So gati bit. Bit means knowledge. Knower, someone who knows, like tattva bit, shastra bit. So gati bit. So Krishna is gati bit, says Sanatana Goswami. The point that he knows both his own nature and the gopis' nature. In the point of being achyuta, of reciprocating. He knows how to reciprocate. He knows which is the approach from the other side. So that's the reason why the gopis are there, according to Sanatana Goswami, because you know who we are, and you should reciprocate with us. On the other side, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his Sadartha Darshini, he makes again presents a very nice dialogue between Krishna and the gopis, and in between the lines of this verse. And he gives another meaning, another idea of this gati bit. Gati bit, Sanatana Goswami said, you are the knower of nature, of one's nature, the other's nature. Well, knowing, bit has to do with knowing, but gati also means stage. Like when you say param gati, the ultimate stage. So according to Vishwanath, gati bit means the gopis are saying to Krishna, you know, bit, the 10th and last stage of life that we have reached at the end of our life. Like last stage, we spoke already about the 10th stage, like death. that you are dying in separation of your beloved. There are so many instances there. So the Gopi said, knowing the 10th and last stage, Gati Bit, we have reached the end of our lives and we have came to you. We have died. Another way of taking that is we have left all our attachment. We have died to live. We have died to the world, to our families, to the world of ahammameti, which constitutes samsara. Bhaktivinoda Thakur will say samsara means ahammameti, I, me, mine. To retain a sense of that means to remain in samsara. So gopis have died in that sense, to live, running towards Krishna. So the gopis, according to Vishwanath, they say, though we are in this way, we are in this exalted state now. We have died to live. But although we have done that and we are there, you have disappointed us and failed to let us see you. You failed to appear before us. So although you are called a Achyuta, infallible, the gopis imply, you have now become fallen. They are like asking with some sarcastic tone there. You are called Achyuta, right? But how have you now become fallen? Because you are not appearing. You are the idea, the gist of this expression by the gopis is you are actually a Achyuta name only. Someone had put that name someday to you because of who knows what, but actually you have fallen. You are Achyuta, not Achyuta. Achyuta, fallen, because you are not up to the circumstance. You have not reciprocated. So according to Vishwanath, the gopis present this point in this verse, and Krishna will reply. And Krishna will say, then why you have come here? If I'm fallen, why have you come here? If I'm fallen, you are fallen. But the gopis say, Gati Vidastavot Gita Mohita. We were bewildered by hearing the loud song of your flute. Tavot Gita Mohita. We lost all discrimination. Mohita means no discrimination. Like when you are intoxicated, like when you are drunk, you will say so many stupid things. You will do so many nonsense. You won't be aware of, and you won't be aware of what's going on until someone tells you 2 days later what happened. Of course, here we are speaking about divine intoxication. So here there is no nonsense at all. But there's a loss of discrimination in the sense of just running to that sound. Self-forgetfulness in divine love, basically. Total forgetfulness of oneself. That's the point of the gopis. If they forgot about themselves, what to speak of forgetting about extensions of themselves, like me and mine. They forgot the I. So the me, mine was totally disappearing on the way immediately. So the gopis are replying to Krishna like this. He says, why you have come here? Well, we were bewildered by the loud sound of your flute. So we lost all discrimination and rushed here. And Krishna may reply to them, according to Chakravarti Pad. Foolish girls, if that's so, then just try to tolerate the pain. Well, like implying it's your foolishness, it's your lack of discrimination. You were the ones who ran. So now try to tolerate. So Vishwanath says, fearing such a statement from Krishna, the gopis end this verse saying this, calling him Kitava. Oh, cheater. And they will imply, oh, cheater, no one except a merciless person like you will reject gentle ladies like us who are of their own accord have come to see you at night. So anticipating that possible reply from Krishna, they will call him names like this. You have to be merciless, not merciful. Merciless. Again, indirectly, loving anger, we have to always understand this in the context of romantic affairs. So the sense of this last line of the verse is, who will at night, try to understand the situation. We are in the middle of the night, in the middle of the forest. So the gopis are saying, who will abandon women who are like that at night, who are so gentle, who have left everything for you? The meaning is, who other than you will do that? And of course the reply is, nobody. Except you, nobody will do such a thing. So in a very, again, with loving anger, the gopis are expressing their feelings. Ballabhacharya qualifies this idea even further, and he says, like, a woman should not be rejected in any circumstance. He's speaking mainly here according to Vedic law and common sense, of course. He's saying woman should not be rejected in any circumstance, especially not in a forest, and much less at nighttime. So like making it like the worst possible scenario. Woman in the forest at nighttime. And you call them and now you disappear. So the gopis are saying that to Krishna. Now you did not facilitate the fulfillment of the reason for which you called us. I mean, you called us for some reason. We are here for fully satisfying that, and you are not facilitating the fulfillment of such thing. That's what, with that idea in mind, the gopis are addressing Krishna as, oh, you're a deceiver, you're a cheater, you're a Kita. Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur also addresses this addressing, Kitava. He translates, is a madman. So the gopis are calling Krishna madman. So again, you will only find this addressing in Braj, and in a specific term, in specific sections of Braj, calling Krishna those names. So according to Vishwanath, the gopis are saying that to Krishna. Now, what young man will reject young woman who come to see him in the middle of the night, like implying such a conducive atmosphere? If you imagine, the perfection of romanticism, full moon, autumn moon. Remember the original scenario of the Rasa Leela, the breeze is there, Jamuna, everything is perfect. Young woman, young man, and the young man rejects the ladies. So the Vishwanath, what he mentions here, and he will take a new turn to the whole idea of being a cheater. He says, actually, though you are a cheater, you have been cheated. You are the one who is losing here. You have been cheated out of enjoyment. That's the idea of Kita by Yoshita, cheater of Yoshita, of ladies. You are a cheater, and the gopis, with the idea of cheater, really expects Krishna special. Even when he cheats, he's not any type of cheater. So they're saying, you are a cheater, that's a fact. But what is more, you only cheat for the sake of cheating. Because generally people is cheating others in order to gain something. That's the whole idea of cheating and not being honest. Now you cheat to obtain something in an easier way or whatever, but you are not gaining anything here. You disappeared, you lost us. So such behavior is fooling. It's foolish, something according to a madman, basically. You could have gained something from our meeting, but instead you disappeared in a whimsical way without gaining anything at all. So you cheated us first, that's a fact. You're Kaitava. By your flute song, you bewildered us, you enchanted us, you cheated us by your flute song. So the point is, why did you call us in the first place? It was simply pointless, because you call us, we obeyed the call, we are here. But now we understand, of course, we have been cheated by you, but in cheating us, you have also been cheated, because now you are the one losing. So in the context of Krishna being Kitava, being a cheater and being cheated, self-cheated, we can connect the word achyuta, which seems to imply you are infallible. And the gopis will connect the idea of infallibility in connection to cheating. So you are infallible when it comes to cheating from many different angles. So let's share some ideas of how the gopis, how all these feelings from the gopis are expressing themselves through to these very same words. And so again, achyuta means infallible. One who never fails, it means infallible. So the gopis are telling Krishna here, you are certainly infallible, that's a fact, but infallible in your great obstinacy. In your great obstinacy, you are infallible. You determine not to appear, you are not appearing. Oh, achyuta. No? Your mind is single-pointed, the gopis say, to the point of obstinacy. You know, obstinacy means this has to be like this, I want it to be like this, that will be like that. No? Okay, you are like that, you are achyuta. Because we have been weeping constantly, continuously, due to our longing to see you, and every millisecond is like a yuga and so many other things there. We are calling you because we are suffering so much. You know that. Krishna is there looking that all this behind a tamal tree. You can imagine. Remember that Krishna, we are not only now hearing the Gopi song, all the things we are sharing now, Krishna is being witnessing all those things. So try to imagine how all these things are impacting in his own psychology. We will see that when he appears, of course. So the Gopis are implying with this, you are determined in not meeting with us. So your determination is really to the point of obstinacy. So your determination in making us suffering is like implacable. Implacable, you say? For so you deserve the name Achyuta. You never fail. You are infallible when it comes to give us suffering. So that's how the Gopis is saying in loving anger, a particular type of Gopis, of course, saying this to Krishna, this implication. You are Achyuta, yes. You do not fail in cheating us. You do not fail in your obstinacy. You do not fail in giving us suffering. So you see, a word that generally is used for praising Krishna, Achyuta. The Gopis are using the same exact word just to insult Krishna over and over again. Of course, it's indirect praise, and Krishna's really enjoying so much in the proper way. He's feeling that's increasing, churning his heart so much. So the Gopis are saying here, actually, previously we were under the impression that you were called Achyuta. We knew you were called Achyuta, but before we thought, okay, that's your name because you never fail to exhibit your refined qualities, reciprocate with devotees, and so on. But now we understand that the reason for you to have that name is not the reason. I mean, your reason for being Achyuta is you never fail to exhibit your cheating, your kitava. So in this way, we connect the two names, the two addresses, apparently contradictory addressings to Krishna here. Achyuta and Kitava, infallible and cheater. So maybe Krishna may say in reply to that, well, but Gopis, you say that you know that I cannot give this habit of mine, that I'm a cheater and I am addicted to that. So you say you know about that. So if you know about that, why did you come in the night like this? So again, the Gopis mentioned this point. We were controlled by the sound of your flute. That's the point. The melody of your flute called our names, as we mentioned. The Gopis didn't hear a flute. They hear Krishna crying to them for mercy. Please come as quick as possible and save my life in separation from you. That sound of the flute, the Gopis implied, was with that sound, through that sound, you were bitterly weeping on the verge of fainting, of dying. And that sound of the flute was also telling us that you cannot live without us. You were saying that to us, I cannot live without you. So we heard that, we understood that immediately, and we became mohita, we became like mad woman, and just came running here because that was the proper reaction to the call. And it's not, the Gopis say, and we know it's not that you played your flute just by the will of providence, something like a random thing. You did so very deliberately, with a particular intention in mind, with full knowledge of all the consequences of such a flute playing. You knew that. You knew that we will be irresistibly attracted to you by your flute song. We will surely be able to stop ourselves from running to you. And in the way of that, we will totally reject everything that may appear in our path. You know that. And sometimes the analogy is given, the Gopis also, in the scripture, sometimes here and there, the analogy is given of the deer. And the deer and the hunter. The deer hunter playing a flute to attract the deer. The deer is very, here I'm saying some deer through the window these days. And they are very fearful. Very quickly they disappear. If they see a human, they disappear. But it is said that the sound of the flute kind of like hypnotize them, like capture them, hunt them. So the hunter knows this and he plays a sweet melody, but it's a sweet death melody, sweet killing melody. So the deer are coming to the hunter when the hunter is playing the flute song. So in the same way, the Gopis are going to Krishna. They're comparing like this. We are like deers, innocent, young, very soft, and you are like a killing hunter. They already call Krishna like this. You are a thief, you are a killer, and so on. So you are so expert at sweetly play your flute that all varieties of sounds come from there. So many melodies blend into its song, the flute song. Melody trembles, as we spoke, quivers as it rises from the lower notes to the higher notes, again falling. No, that's our experience. You know, many ragas, many raginis, many tunes and melodies, and all of them are so beautiful that what to do? Everyone is attracted to them. Not only us. They express this in the Benu Gita already. All the species of Vrindavan are attracted to that. What to speak of us? And you know, no, you are a very good flute player. No, because you are very expert in knowing which sound and melody will be able to attract different people and creatures for a particular purpose. So you know, and you knew how to call us and attract us in this particular moment and way. So that's why we have come to you, just like an innocent deer. So we see, no, Krishna is the supreme attractor, all attractive, even the gopis, no, if they will like not to see Krishna, if they are, for example, there's some famous instances. One example is given by Prabodhananda Saraswati in his Radha Rasa Sudanidhi, when Sri Radha will like not to be with Krishna in some, I mean, this is in the context, of course, of man, of loving anger. She wants to be with Krishna at every single moment. But in the dynamics of anger, she will say, I don't want to see Krishna. I don't want to speak about Krishna. I don't want to touch Krishna. No? He may express that determination. But the point is that in practice, that's not possible. For example, and Radha Rasa Sudanidhi gives the example, Radha may be angry with Krishna, and her first resolution will be, I will not look at him anymore. Like, I will accept the brata. But it is said that Krishna is there, and Radha Rasa Sudanidhi is calling Krishna like the crown jewel of clever pranksters. No? So Krishna will be there, and he will speak in such a way to Radha when she's saying, I don't want to see him anymore. And he will stand before her, and he will be begging her, no, just look at me just once, just once. And the Sakis, the Manjaris are there, and they will see the sweetness of Krishna's form, and they will tell each other, ah, how sweetly, no, Krishna is standing there begging, no, in his threefold form in front of Radha. And they say, according to Radha Rasa Sudanidhi, the life of that lady love who does not see that sweetness is wasted. So, of course, hearing all those words from the gopis, from her friends, Radha becomes eager to see Krishna again and looks at him just once, and immediately she breaks her vow. So her first resolution broken. Niyama akshama, it seems, no? Like one of the symptoms of anishtita bhayana kriya, and a lack of capability to sustaining one vows. So that happens in Braj, in the highest realm, but from particular reasons. So rather make a second resolution will be, I was not able to not look at Krishna, but I won't speak about him. I may just look at him, but not speak about him. But at that moment, when Krishna hears her saying that, of course, Krishna will speak to her in such nice way that Sri Radha won't be able to stay silent anymore. No? And if she's with man, with loving anger, she may say to him at that moment, okay, go to that girl that you love, no? Like some other gopi, go to that kunja. What are you standing here for, speaking such clever words? So the point is, she's chastising him, but she's speaking. And she said, I won't speak with him anymore. Thus, second vow, also gone. And the third vow that Prabodhananda Saraswati mentions is that Radha says, I won't touch him. I won't enter into any physical contact with him. But it says that at the moment she says that, Krishna gradually starts to get closer, and he's bringing his foot towards, his feet forward and touches the tips of Radha's toes. No? So this makes Radha unsteady. Just a mere touch with her beloved. No? So she angrily, she was not touching him, he touched her. But by that touch, she, in anger, she took Krishna by the hand and pushed him out of the kunja. But she touched him. That's the point. So eventually Sri Radha will conclude, she will tell her friends, just see, now I've also touched him. I break my, I couldn't, if I break my third resolution. So if I cannot keep my vow, how can I keep him away? Not possible. So her Siddhanta, her perfect conclusion was, no, she will hold Krishna by her neck and bring him back to the kunja. What to do? So in this way, Krishna is stealing Sri Radha's heart, but in so many ways. And so this is the point here. The gopis, by the sound of the flute, Even though they may know, oh, that will kill us or whatever, maybe the consequences, we cannot avoid going there. So much sweetness. And of course, over and over again, we have to remind, they're not going there for their own separate pleasure. They're going there to serve pleasure, to honor that. On another note, the Gopis also saying to Krishna, implying between the lines in this verse, also it's basically saying it's impossible for any male, for any man to attain our association, even though they seem so-called, they have so-called husbands. It is said that there's no actual association between them. So it is impossible for any male to attain our association. It's impossible even for Narayan. What to speak of others? Narayan is so chaste to Lakshmi. Nobody, no, even a chaste man like Narayan. But still, we have come here to you. Due to your good fortune, the gopis start to chastise Krishna in those terms. You are the fortunate one because you have us here. It seems they speak with pride, but it's, again, one of the vyabhichari bhavs of rasa, to show pride in the context of love. So the gopis are saying that to Krishna in between the lines in this verse. You have gained us. We are like Chintamani jewels. Automatically you've gained us. You play your flute and you were just, without making any separate endeavor, you have gained us. Not only one Chintamani, but millions of Chintamani gems have come to you in the form of every and single gopi who personify one particular emotion, of course, that is present in its full form, all of them in Sri Radha Thakurani. So the gopis are implying to Krishna, you should understand your good fortune. But you are a Achyuta. Again, what was the meaning of Achyuta? You obstinately maintain your habit of cheating and self-cheating. So you cheat so much. Sometimes the example is given of Kamadev, Cupid. Kamadev is thinking he's cheating, but actually, ultimately, he's being cheated in connection, for example, to the saintly people. They say that Kamadev will think, by my arrangement, the renunciants are forced to live without possessions. Kamadev may think like that, but actually the reality is that by Krishna's mercy, these saintly persons have no interest at all in any worldly interaction. So in the same way that Kamadev thinks he has cheated the saintly persons, but in fact, he's cheated by the saintly persons. As we said the other day, the saintly persons are cheating death. So similarly, the gopis are saying here to Krishna, in the process of you cheating us, actually you cheated yourself. And to the highest possible degree. You are a fraud. Fraud, you say in English. You are a fraud, the gopis imply. Nobody in this world cheats as you do. Nobody in this world does anything as Krishna does, even cheating. So the gopis imply, oh, you're a fraud, and nobody in this world is cheating. No cheater. Nobody, no cheat. Let's go to the society of cheaters. So no cheater in the world cheats as you do, abandoning what you gain by deceit and thus cheating yourself. So it is, the gopis say, your cheating is contemptible, yeah, contemptible, totally worthy of rejection, even in a society of cheaters. Imagine, because real cheaters will be after some gain, but you're cheating to the point of being rejected by the whole society of cheaters. So you are truly a Achyuta, infallible, because you cannot live without cheating. You cannot fail from your determination of cheating. Duplicity is your favorite attribute, therefore your name is fully justified. So again, these are left-wing gopis. Right-wing gopis won't say those things to Krishna. No? Calling him names from tip to toe, and your name is fully justified. We are really cheater. So the conclusion of this verse, the gist of the gopis calling Krishna a cheater, is that even a cheater, what they say, a general cheater, any cheater except for you, will not abandon a woman at night. Any other cheater won't do that. You are doing that. So the point is, you are just a cheater. But also, now that we think a little bit more, the gopi think, you are not only a cheater, you are also utterly ungrateful. That's the commentary of some acharyas. Like, you're a cheater, because another idea, that because there are different, of course, perspectives in this regard, another possibility is that you are a cheater because you abandon young, beautiful gopis who arrived after you attracted them by playing music in a secluded place at night with the desire for amorous pleasure. And so all those ingredients put together make for a cheater. So the gopis will conclude, okay, so it has become obvious that you are a cheater. Okay, you wanted to make that point already clear for all of us. So now give us your darshan. So that's how the gopis' mind work. Okay, you are a cheater. They call him names. They insult from tip to toe Krishna. So, okay, now it's really clearly established that you are a cheater and you do not fail in your determination. Okay, that was the point we wanted to make. Maybe that was the point you wanted to make. Okay, let's close the chapter. Give us your darshan. Appear before us. Another alternative also that some other commentators give is like the gopis will have said to Krishna, we women belong to you. Some particular group of gopis, a softer one, if you will say to Krishna, I'm yours. Tava Yoshita, if you understand the two words, these two words in connection in this verse. Tava Yoshita. Tava means yours and Yoshita means woman. So we women belong to you, a cheater. And thus, they mention that nonetheless. And thus, because of that, we are cheaters as well. Because we know everything about you being a cheater. So please stop being a cheater towards us. No? That's another type of mode, even in the context of calling Krishna a cheater. No, a much more submissive way of approaching that. So, but again, what we have to understand is this is another clever way of asking Krishna to show up, basically. No? Stop cheating us means appear. Cheat means you are not appearing. Stop cheating means appear before us. So again, we see different possibilities, different groups of gopis speaking about speaking in the same verses, if you will. Mainly we have these divisions of Dakshina Bhav, Bhamya Bhav, right wing, left wing gopis. Of course, if we want to go more in detail, we may speak about further groups like Swapaksha, Vipaksha, Tatashta, Suhrit. Swapaksha gopis, Radha's own personal party, Vipaksha, Radha's rivals like Chandravali and so on, Tatashta, gopis which are neutral to both sides, and Suhrit, gopis which are not from Radha's own group but friendly to her. So each of the verses, as I already said, of the Gopi Gita may be spoken by any of these four groups with different nuanced possibilities. So each verse will have at least four different meanings, if you will, of course, much more, corresponding to the respective moods of each particular group. And as I mentioned, our Acharya have not given four different explanations for each verse. So the explanation that they have not given, as well, of course, as the one they have given, should be realized by the readers themselves, by the one who are hearing, by all of us eventually. So how to go to receive such a blessing? Well, we can conclude by praying to this book, by praying to these verses, to this Gopi Gita, to develop some taste, some real eagerness, real genuine eagerness for these topics, and committed, responsible eagerness, if you will, spiritual one. Because these topics are very profound, are very much beyond of what we can say, what we can understand. So many layers, infinite layers of meaning. So they are difficult to penetrate. Because in order to, as Guru Maharaj will say, to gain penetration into transcendence, of course, lots of elements has to be there from our side. Lots of surrender, and bhakti, and purity, and blessings, and mercy. So we need all those things to achieve further penetration into this Gopi Gita. So we have to remain in that mode, pray for more, because these verses are very powerful mantras, which are contained in the words of gopis, the words of Krishna in between the lines as we are sharing, and in their commentaries, our acharyas have prayed themselves to Krishna, to the gopis for their mercy, so they may access the meaning of their words. So we also are praying, of course, to Krishna and the gopis and our Purvacharyas who commented on this, so we can understand, gain some understanding of this Gopi Gita. Because whatever we speak, whatever we think, whatever we taste in the connection of this will be only by their mercy, by their kindness, not because of our own merit. Without their charity, without their kind compassion, to say that no one will be able to realize this topic. So we begin our meeting offering Mangalacharan, and we close our meeting offering Mangalacharan somehow or other, but glorifying Sri Radha, Sri Krishna, the Gopis, Brajavasis, Guru Parampara, Gaudiya Vaishnav. Because without that mercy, there is no entry point, real entry point into this esoteric realm. So some words I wanted to share with you today about this verse, 16th verse of the GOPI GITA. So I don't know if there is any question you may like to share. Okay, so we have no questions today. So let's finish here and see you all tomorrow. We will be continuing with our next verse, verse number 17. We are approaching the last section of the GOPI GITA, even though we will have these days and probably next week as well to give a further proper close to the whole series. We hope to see you tomorrow and all these remaining days. Thank you very much. Srila Gurudev Ki Jai. Sriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Shri Shri Gaur Radha Madhav Ki Jai. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्री गोपी गीत की जय, गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, आनंद हरि बोल। पंचकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, गौर हरि बोल।
Abhinava Swami ki jai. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Another incredibly beautiful class.
By the mercy of our guardians.
Thank you so much.
See you tomorrow. See you in a while, depending.
See you for lunch. Haribol.
See you.